Today I am reviewing unmeasured confounding and racial or ethnic disparities in disability identification by Paul L. Morgan in 2021. The purpose of this study was to investigate whether unmeasured confounding factors can explain the observed racial and ethnic disparities in identifications of disabilities among students. The significance in this research is that it also addresses the significant issue in educational policy and practice, where disparities in disability identification can lead to unequal access to special education services. The problem statement that the researchers identified was there have been concerns about both over and under identification of disabilities among minority students. The significance of this research is that it addresses a significant issue in educational policy and practice. The researchers stated that it's crucial to address these issues where disparities in disability identification can lead to unequal access to special education services. For the background, historically, there have been concerns about both over and under identification of disabilities among racial and ethnic minority students. Federal legislation such as Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, mandates monitoring for significant disproportionality in disability identification based on race or ethnicity. The current debate is that recent studies, including Morgan, suggest that Black and Hispanic students are less likely to be identified as having disabilities compared to their white peers, even when controlling for other factors. This contradicts earlier beliefs that minority students were over-identified. Morgan's findings have significant implication for educational policy. If disparities are due to differential treatment rather than methodological errors, it suggests a need for policy intervention to ensure equitable identification and support for all students. Morgan's use of E-value, a new statistical technique, provides a robust method to assess the impact of unmeasured confounding strengthening the validity of the findings. In Morgan's study, a secondary data analysis was used. The study utilizes secondary data drawing from 3 large population-based studies. This approach allows for a comprehensive examination of existing data to identify pattern and relationships related to disability identification across different racial and ethnic groups. The population-based studies, these studies include diverse samples that are representative of a broader population, enhancing the generalizability of findings. A key factor of this study is that the use of E-value, a relatively new statistical technique. The E-value quantifies the minimum strength of association that unmeasured confounder would need to have both exposure, race and ethnicity, and outcome, disability identification, to explain away the observed association. This helps in assisting the robustness of the study's findings against potential unmeasured confounding factors. Control variables, extensive statistical controls. The study employs a wide range of statistical controls to account for various potential confounding factors: child level factors, family level factors, school level factors. A comprehensive analysis by controlling for these factors, the study aims to isolate the effect or race or ethnicity on disparities are not due to other confounding variables. Some of the key findings was the study found that unmeasured confounding is an unlikely explanation for the observed racial and ethnic disparities in disability identification. Using the E-value, the analysis showed that the strength of association required for an unmeasured confounder to fully explain the disparities is implausibly high. Disparities in identification was the results indicate that Black and Hispanic students are less likely to be identified as having disabilities compared to their white peers, even after controlling for a wide range of potential confounding factors. This finding challenges the notion that these disparities are due to methodological errors or biases in data collection. The implications of this study is differential treatment. The findings suggest that the disparities in disability identification are more likely due to the differential treatment based on race or ethnicity rather than methodological flaws. This implies that Black and Hispanic students may not be receiving the same level of attention or resources for disability identification as white students. Policy and practice were resulted having significant implication for educational policy and practice. They highlight the need for policies to ensure equitable identification processes and support for all students regardless of their racial or ethnic background. Morgan's study underscores the importance of further research to explore the underlying causes of these disparities to develop interventions that can effectively address them. Key points to recap. The study by Morgan investigates whether unmeasured confounding factors can explain the observed disparities in disability identification among different racial or ethnic groups. The findings indicate that unmeasured confounding is unlikely explanation for the disparities of the observes. To address the identified disparities, it's important to implement policies that ensure equitable identification process for all students. Strengthening monitoring and accountability measures to ensure that schools are compliant with federal regulations regarding the identification of disabilities. Regular audits and reviews can help identify and correct any disparities in the identification process. Encourage further research to explore the underlying cause of these disparities. Allocate resources to support schools for implementing these changes. This can include funding for professional development, hiring additional staff to support the identification process, and providing resources for culturally responsive assessment and tools. Now I'd like to go into why it is important to the importance of an oral defense. And in the introduction, an oral defense is crucial as it provides background and context for your research. It helps the audience understand the significance of your study and why it is important. This section should clearly outline the problem you are addressing and set the stage for your presentation. A strong introduction captures the audience attention and engages them from the start. It should be concise yet informative, providing a clear overview of what to expect in your presentation. The research question and hypothesis. Presenting your research question or hypothesis clearly defines the focus and direction of your study. It helps the audience understand the specific issues you are investigating and the assumptions you are testing. The research question or hypothesis serves as a guide for your entire presentation. It ensures that all subsequent sections are aligned with the central theme of your research. In the methodology section, this showcases the rigor and validity of your research approach. It explains how you conduct your study including the design, data collection, and analysis methods. A well-explained methodology builds credibility with your audience. It shows that you have carefully planned and executed your research, which is essential for gaining their trust and confidence in your findings. The results section highlights the key contributions of your research to the field. It presents the main findings and demonstrates how they address the research question and hypothesis. A clear and well-organized results section support your overall argument and help convince the audience of the validity of your conclusions. The conclusion provides a clear and concise summary of your findings and their implication as it ties together all the key points of your presentation and reinforces the significance of your research. When you offer recommendations, this section often includes recommendations for future research or policy changes based on your findings. It shows that your research has practical implications and can contribute to ongoing discussions in your field. Throughout my review, I did find that Morgan's study offered great insight, and the presentation that Morgan provided was valid for further research to be conducted. Thank you.